Whether you in a car, room, office, or tune, Myron in the morning got to talk for all the news. Sports talking, we talking sports often. I'm thinking Brady deflating and Jeter fused with Boston. Now that Kobe retired, I'm thinking Kobe for office also.
All right, everybody, we got doing a little something different for y'all this time. Last season, David and I had a bunch of fantasy requests. I mean, I know at least I did, and I'm in way too many fantasy football leagues. I'm in like 4 fantasy leagues. So hard to keep up with all the players. You're in 5 fantasy leagues. So I figured, no, let's give the people 18 episodes of fantasy football talk, at least 17 episodes of fantasy football talk.
Yeah.
And, every week we drop an episode, Wednesday or Thursday, catch them up on the fantasy week, and then some players to look out for. But also, they can follow one of our teams each. So I hope your boys are ready to play. I'm going to pick a team that I have to confess, I was 0-16 in this league before. But then the next year I won the championship. The next year I won the championship. Because the comeback is always better than the setback.
I will be showing off a league I've been in for a while. Won championship first year. It's been pretty quiet ever since. And then we are the defending champ right now. So it feels good, but a lot of work still to be done.
This is like Hard Knocks fantasy football.
Yeah, just week by week.
Week by week.
Regular season.
Man, so we're back. You got the hot dogs on the grill, hamburger buns out. We had a great first week of football on Sunday. Some good fantasy performances, and let's just get right into it and start there. Start off with Pat Mahomes. No, actually, that's disrespectful. Let's start off with Tom Brady and what they did on Thursday night, the first game of the season.
Yeah, both those offenses looked like they'll be, top 5 offenses in the league. I think if you have a fantasy player on either one of those teams, you're looking pretty solid. Even Mike Evans, who didn't look great, I think he'll be okay. Gallup going down was tough, but you knew CeeDee Lamb and Cooper were going to be the guys, and you can't panic on Zeke yet. That's one of the best run defenses in the league. They're going to swallow up any running back they face this year. So on your horses, really, you saw that week 1. Don't panic. Henry had a bad game. Aaron Jones had a bad game. Saquon had a bad game. It's week 1. We'll get it together, and I think your horses are still going to, hopefully carry you to where you need to be.
That's the biggest thing, the week 1 panics. I had a bunch of people reach out to me about Ezekiel Elliott, how he's done, he's washed up, past his prime, only had a 9 to 10 rushing attempts. And I just kept telling them they played the best run defense in football. With 10 rushing attempts, they never tried to actually establish the run. Like, that was clear, I feel. And I said, I'm thinking exactly what you said. It's too early to panic on a guy like Zeke, especially with how powerful that offense is. I think he has enough volume where he's a consistent, player, at least a top 2 back.
If you don't have Tony Pollard, you probably should go pick him up. He's looked pretty good. He'll be catching the ball. And if anything happens to Zeke or he's out for 1 week, COVID's still an issue in the league. You never know if someone catches it. They could be out 2 games. So it's always good to have a handcuff, especially for your top guys.
I have a feeling that Dak Prescott could be the best fantasy quarterback in football this year.
I'm going to go with Kyler Murray with the way that Arizona offense looked. I know they played a very suspect Titans defense, but Kyler looked incredible.
Kyler did look good. He did, but see, that's probably what it is. I'm giving more credit to the Buccaneers defense than I am the Titans defense. And I don't know, Dak just looked exceptional on Thursday night. I'm sick he wasn't able to come out with the win against the Bucs, but he really just looked amazing. And his high volume targets to CD and Amari is just very settling if you're a Dak Prescott owner. Obviously, if you're a CD Lamb owner like myself.
Yeah, music to my ears watching that first game, having Chris Godwin and CeeDee Lamb just kind of trade punches back and forth in that first half. Came away with a nice 19 after the first game of the season.
Are you bidding high or bidding low on a guy like Antonio Brown right now for the Buccaneers? Preseason, I saw some experts saying AB actually could secretly be the best receiver at fantasy on the Buccaneers this year as far as touchdowns and yards. Had a great week 1. If you're an AB owner, what kind of position you putting yourself in?
I think it's always good to have weapons on, just good, high-powered offenses. You take the Seahawks, you take the Rams, any of those weapons, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. They're going to be scoring. They're going to be finding the end zone. it's just good to have guys in those teams. And AB and Gronk, I thought they looked great. Roll back the clock a little bit. They might be able to run this thing back.
Can Gronk maintain, of course not possibly the volume, but is he still a red zone touchdown target?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the chemistry with him and Brady. I was worried about OJ Howard coming back, and
I was very worried about OJ.
They still have Cameron Brate, but Gronk's that guy, and he's just bigger. He's been doing it for longer than people, and he just goes up and gets it, or just finds a little open hole for Brady to put it in and find the end zone.
Boss. And so moving into Sunday, how did I had to moving into Sunday? So what are some players that kind of overperformed above your expectations coming into Sunday? Had tons of game, obviously every single team in the league kicked off. Who did you kind of have on your roster that you were a little surprised by?
I knew
was shocked by David Montgomery.
He looked really good against that Rams deep front. He did. I was gonna say Deebo Samuel, but he was playing the Lions. Can't really count that too much. But you got to say the surprise of the weekend was Jameis and the Saints. That game right there.
Every single player, and the fact that Callaway was not the guy that erupted for the Saints is even more shocking.
Yeah, I definitely would go find one of those players on the waiver wire if you need a spot to fill, if you're looking for a receiver, or even a tight end. Thompson looked great.
I picked up Juwan Johnson in all my leagues for sure. And he can play the wide receiver, tight end in most fantasy leagues too. So Juwan Johnson's a very secret waiver pickup. But are you, based off how the game looked, I have a feeling that week to week, all the Saints receivers could be boom or bust. I don't know if any of them are a consistent flex play even week to week. Besides, obviously, AK to God.
Yeah, when you need to fill a spot, AK is still the guy around there. I think the second guy you want is Jameis. He's going to be the one slinging it, and that's probably what you need if you're in a 2-quarterback league. I think it makes sense. If you're in a 1-quarterback league, it might not be, but if you have him on your bench, it could be matchup dependent depending on who's that other guy.
Yeah, Jameis is a very sneaky play in 2-quarterback leagues for sure. Definitely he's your number 2 spot. Another guy that kind of shocked, I think, a lot of people in fantasy this week was Mark Ingram. The Houston Texans have a crowded backfield. They got Phillip Lindsay, D. Johnson, Mark Ingram. And not only did Mark Ingram out-carry them, he got 26 carries. And all 3 running backs scored.
It was very busy back there, but I think Tyrod played great. They did play the Jaguars. So we'll see what happens, when they go up against a more competent team. But they had a 3-headed monster back there, and I don't know which guy it's going to be each week. It could change. We've seen it out of Phillip Lindsay. We've definitely seen it out of David Johnson. So it could change week to week, but obviously right now Mark Ingram is the guy you want.
And I got very lucky and got Mark Ingram on the waiver wire this week, so that was awesome for me. And another waiver wire pickup is the running back circus you got in Baltimore. The guys aren't staying healthy, and you got a guy like Tashawn Williams who steps up and has a fantastic game, breaks off a big one for you. And now all of a sudden, the Ravens, appear to still have a possible running attack. And if you're a fantasy owner, I think you have to jump all over Williams, and even possibly Latavius or Le'Veon, one of the two.
Yeah, you really don't know what's going to happen. Latavius got to town a couple of days before that game. So obviously it was Williams' game to kind of take the reins there, and he looked good. I think he'll probably, get the nod until someone's either ready or he screws up and fumbles in a bad position and they have to take him out. But I was also very impressed with Kenneth Gainwell. I thought Eagles looked good, and he was really a good change of pace back to bring in when, Miles Sanders needed to come out.
And that was the worst news of the week for me because I'm a Boston Scott owner. So Kenneth Gainwell having a very good game is not what a Boston Scott owner wants to hear. Boston Scott didn't even see the field, so at this point, I'm at maybe 1 or 2 more weeks holding that, and I got to cut him. I can't keep him on my team. He's not going to touch the field. But I don't really know because he was so great last year in his role for the Philadelphia Eagles. But Gainwell is by far the way better pass catching back out of the backfield for them.
But then do you think about the players that were actually on the field and didn't produce, like Gesicki and Ayuk, that laid eggs? Those are two guys you got to think, like, I don't know if I can trust starting them right now.
The tight end position this year is very scary. Like, I am actually regretting not taking the tight end early, because after you get done with literally Kelsey and Waller,
Kittle looked good, but
Kittle looked
who's throwing the
okay,
ball.
and Hawkinson looked okay.
Hawkinson looked good. I mean,
But
he's
after
getting
that, I
possible for
mean,
someone.
Mark Andrews did
Yeah.
not look well, and
No.
with the
Logan
amount
Thomas didn't look great.
of Gesicki was a goose egg.
Goddard wasn't great.
Nope.
Yeah.
It was not looking good for the tight ends. Noah Fant didn't do much in Denver. Obviously, Eric Ebron with the Steelers, they struggled offensively. He didn't get anything done either. And the tight end position is looking like could be honestly a make or break position for fantasy owners if you have a Travis Kelce or a Darren.
Yeah, those two guys, their point differential, when you really break it down, like quarterback, running back, receiver, it's very slim between, say the best guy and the 15th guy. You look at tight ends, the best guy and the 15th guy, it's not even close. So even if you just break it down to the first to the 12 or first to 10, they're outscoring them by double digits at least. 10, maybe 15, could get up to 20 depending on the game. Waller, Kelsey, those guys had 20 plus games.
And they all have the ability to have 20 plus games weekly, which is a scary part, as a tight end position, because most of us have tight ends that are touchdown or break opponents. I got the Green Bay tight end. I don't even want to talk about them because I'm still hurt. That entire offense ruined my fantasy week.
But you put a guy like that up against a Kelsey and a Waller, and you're going, 2 catches for 20 yards against 10 catches for 95 and a touchdown. It's not even close. And that's why those guys are such a big advantage in fantasy football right now.
Yep. And I think a lot of people, I know I definitely did miss on that. And if I could redraft, that's something I think I would definitely do, is address that tight end position right away. Because like you said, the gap between the first and the fourth and the fifth tight end is huge
right there. Exactly.
Especially seeing the week like Mark Andrews had. So yeah.
Yeah. You want to talk about your Steelers real quick before we get into our team?
Man, we played a good game. As a fan, we played a great game. I predicted that the Steelers actually lose this game before winning the next 11. So there's that. But they played good. I think I saw someone else. We have the best defense in football, and now it's by a long shot. Devin Bush being healthy in that middle. I think the Steelers defense is a fantasy play every single week. No matter who they play, I would play the Steelers defense because they're going to get you a turnover. They're going to get you 3 to 4 sacks. And offensively, there is a lot of concern offensively if you are a fantasy owner. I would personally say trade high on everybody that you have on the Steelers offense. Even Najee Harris is someone that I will look into trading away at this point, to be honest, because the offensive line for the Steelers is abysmal.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be following him on my team, so we got him and Chase Claypool. We'll have a lot of Steeler talk. So looking ahead, I mean, Vegas and Cincinnati, those are 2 games where you got to get going. If you're Najee Harris and you're getting the ball 15 to 20 times a game, you got to make the most out of those opportunities, especially against some weaker defensive fronts. Now, Claypool, Juju, Deontay Johnson, there's a lot of mouths to feed. James Washington's getting a lot more snaps too. And is Big Ben able to get him the ball? I think he'll get a little bit more into season shape. He's skinny right now. I think he needs to put on a couple pounds.
Come on. First, the guy was too big, and now he's too small. Last season, you guys all said he was fat and out of shape.
He's also a little too old.
And then he comes in this year in shape, and everyone's like, wow, he's a little skinny there. Can he take
a
hit?
He's got one last ride. He's already a first ballot Hall of Famer. So let's see what he can do. He's got the weapons. He's got the defense. He just needs to not fuck up.
Yes, and that's the interesting part, is see if he can transition into a quarterback who used to win football games to now being a quarterback that doesn't lose those football games. That's going to be the biggest adjustment, I think, for Big Ben this season, because he's used to being that guy who's thrown for 400 plus yards, 4 to 5 touchdowns. He's going to get you an interception every week. but
He's
gonna
coming. He's making that 2-minute drive to come back.
Oh yeah, now I think he's in a position where he just needs to make sure the Steelers defense is as rested as much as possible, so when those guys get on the field, they can eat. Because man, I think they're a play every week offensively for the Steelers. Beware, owners, could be a long year for you, especially if you're a Juju Smith-Schuster owner. Could be a tough one for you. I also want to talk about real quick before we switch gears, the Green Bay Packers. We can't escape those guys.
They
obviously
really
it's just one game.
Really lucky that they get a Monday Night Football game against the Lions. That'll get anybody back on track.
Anybody. What did Detroit do to deserve that?
I don't know. They must have pissed off the wrong person there. Like, we never get Monday
Night Football. They fucked up on that one.
Week 2 in Lambeau.
On a pissed off Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that's the one thing that probably people didn't plan for, but it'll be an ugly game. I just hope the Lions can show some fight like they did this week.
Do you have faith in most of the Packers offensive players, at least the big three, kind of figuring it out? I mean, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and Devontae Adams kind of getting back to a spot where they're comfortable at, or is this going to be a long year for the Packers?
No, I think you're okay. Those are, 2 first-round guys and the MVP of the NFL last season. So I think they're going to figure it out. It's a long week. They had to play in, Jacksonville, because you couldn't play in New Orleans. It was a strange week, and Jameis looked good. And I think it's more credit to the Saints and Sean Payton than it is the Packers. And I don't think there's anything to be too worried about, because they're still the Green Bay Packers, and they can rattle off 6-7 wins just like that.
Any rookies, little rookie talk real quick, that you were disappointed in, and some that impressed you kind of a lot going into week 1? Because I feel this season, coming off of a draft, especially, a dynasty keeper league, a lot of these rookies, especially running back, got a lot of praise very early before even touching training camp. And I mean, you saw guys like Melvin Gordon hold his role, and it was impressive to see. So I want to talk about that.
Michael Carter didn't really play, like we already touched on Najee, but I mean, the surprise was probably the receivers: Jamar Chase, Waddle, Devonta Smith. They all look good. They all looked really good, and I think I'd be less worried if I own those guys right now than I would be if I owned some of those running backs, like you said. Sermon, people were high on. He was a healthy scratch.
Now he's in a good position where, unfortunately, Raheem Mostert has to go get surgery. You're hoping that Sermon's that guy to fill in that role.
Yeah.
If you're a Trey Sermon owner,
can run for 100 yards, and I think they're going to have 3 backs, and they're going to ride the hot hand. I'd probably rotate them a lot. It's obviously Mitchell's job right now. They still have JaMychal Hasty. But Sermon's at least going to be
waiver wire alert. Got to go mess with JaMychal Hasty and
Trey Sermon if he's available. I'm sure Mitchell's gone by the time you're listening to this.
Yeah, Mitchell definitely was gone this morning. They picked up Mitchell. But yeah, you're right. The receivers look fantastic.
$36 in my league. We got $100 budget, $36. So I think it could pay off. It could be this year's James Robinson, Myles Gaskin, who, really were consistent week in and week out, and you could play in the running back slot or flex.
Yes, and like you said, man, those receivers were very impressive. All 3 lived up to the hype, and even and all their quarterbacks look decent. I'm so impressed with Jalen Hurts. He can be a very scary fantasy player this year. I think with his dual threat ability, he has a chance to be, a top 5 fantasy football quarterback.
Yeah, but if you want to talk rookie quarterbacks, Mac Jones obviously looked the best. He played probably the best out of him, Zach Wilson, and Trevor Lawrence. Fields and Lance did see the field. I would definitely, depending on your roster format, maybe consider rostering one of them if you have an open spot, because it's just a matter of time till those guys take the reins. It looks like it might be Justin Fields possibly before Lance, just because of the way the offense is going to look. If Garoppolo's winning games, you can't really take that guy out. But if Dalton starts off 0-2, 0-3, you really have to make a change, because the fans are going to be calling for it. And Fields is the guy that can come in right away and maybe light it up with the weapons he has, like Montgomery and Allen Robinson, even Darnell Mooney.
Yes, you're 100% right. If you're a Fields owner, you're just waiting for the chance and the opportunity for him to get that spot. It's got to be around the corner. So let's go ahead, David, and let the people know what the fantasy team's looking like. So you said you're doing a keeper league as well.
Yep.
It's the league you're going to follow this year, and you kept David Montgomery with the 7th round pick. So still,
Yep. Drafted him in the 8th. It was between him and Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen would have had to been a 5th-round pick, and I thought the value was just a lot better getting Montgomery in the 7th, especially because I had the 8th pick. So my thought was, let's go get two big backs, two horses right away. We got Jonathan Taylor and Najee Harris at the running back slots, with Montgomery at the flex. 2-quarterback league. So we got Russ and Tannehill. A little worried about Tannehill, but I think he's going to be okay. Russ looks fantastic. He always does beginning of the season. Nobody throws a better deep ball than Russ. It's gorgeous.
Beautiful, man. The one he threw to Lockett was I had dreams about it.
It was so pretty. And then we touched on CeeDee Lamb and Chris Godwin, our two kind of, dog receivers. But we do got Chase Claypool, who I think could be okay, he breaks out for 2-3 touchdowns in one game, and he could win me a week single-handedly. So hoping for that in the 3rd wide receiver slot. Got some guys on the bench that could definitely fill that slot as well if needed to. And then Logan Thomas is my tight end. I do have Jonnu Smith as a little insurance policy.
Yeah.
A little worried now with Fitzpatrick out. So we'll see what I have to do there. And then I rounded out. I do have a defense and kicker in this league. We go Rams D and Jason Myers, the Seattle kicker. I was looking
Safe
at
kicker. I
matchups.
love that.
I was looking at matchups, and the Rams played the Bucks and the Cardinals coming up. So I went ahead and got the Saints defense because they're playing the Panthers this week, but their next 2 weeks they got the New England Patriots and the New York Giants. So they'll definitely be starting instead of having to worry about playing Kyler Murray and playing Tom Brady. So definitely start looking at matchups in your leagues, right away, especially looking forward to middle of the season, bye weeks. It's definitely going to be important.
That is very important. I like that team a lot. Like you said, Ryan Tannehill could be the one, but he could also be a solid quarterback too for you if he has what he had last season.
Absolutely. With AJ Brown and Julio Jones, hopefully the addition of him is good for his game. He did get a running touchdown, which is always better than the passing touchdown. I do have Cortland Sutton on my bench, which the Judy news sucks, but if you're a Cortland Sutton owner or Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, someone's got to step up and be that guy. We got Kenyon Drake as well. He's my only running back on the bench because I do run 3 in the starting lineup, but he looked pretty solid. A lot of pass catching abilities, 3rd down back, and he did get a few carries. Jacobs looked a little hurt, so we'll see what happens there. And we rounded out with Jalen Waddle, Michael Pittman Jr., and Derek Carr as a backup quarterback with Jonnu Smith and the Saints D.
I like the versatility with the receivers, definitely off the bench. I'm a big proponent, especially this season, of the 3 running backs. I think the receivers this year are very interchangeable, kind of hit or miss. I think the running back gap, not as obviously big as the tight end gap, but the running back gap is pretty big, and a lot of people are starting. I just played a team, and they started David Johnson and Philip Lindsay.
That's tough. I think volume is always so important in fantasy football. And when you're getting guys that are going to touch the ball 15 times a game at least, it's better for your game because it's more chances for them to break one, more chances for them to get you some points or find the end zone.
Hey, man, good luck to you this season. Did you guys win week 1?
We did win week 1. Had a nice little showing. So we move on to week 2, and I think we're setting the lineup just same as it was. I'm going to probably ride Logan Thomas on the Thursday night game. A little concerned about it, but he did get a touchdown pass from Taylor Heineke. They got to throw to someone. Gibson was a little banged up. It looks like he's healthy, which is good. Hopefully take the pressure off Logan Thomas and he can find the end zone again. Get a little pay dirt.
And you got Curtis Samuel on the IR for the next 6 weeks. So Logan Thomas could be that second option after you get done with Scary Terry.
Absolutely.
Well,
so your team, what we got?
Man, so I also have a keeper league. I kept T. Higgins with the 14th round pick because he was undrafted last year. And I kept CeeDee Lamb with the 9th round pick as he went 10th. So those are my 2 keepers. I could have kept Eckler, but it would have been a 2nd rounder. And kind of like you, I felt the bang on T. Higgins in the 14th round. I couldn't pass that up. And I'm big on Dak Prescott this year. CD had to be a keeper. So I roll out Pat Mahomes, C.D. Lamb, Chris Godwin, Aaron Jones, Clyde Edwards, Robert Tonyan, Green Bay tight end. I'm a little worried about him, like we were talking about. That tight end gap could be he's a touchdown animal last year. And then this
Yeah.
week he had 4 targets for
He's
8
gonna
yards.
probably have to see less, but can he get more yards? Can he get more catches? Can he be a little bit more involved in the offense?
Or at least more red zone touchdowns. Yeah, one of the two. One of the two for me. So that's my tight end. A little iffy there. Montgomery, David Montgomery from the Bears is my flex. And then off the bench, I've got T. Higgins, Claypool, Ronald Jones, Mike Williams, and your boy Naeem Hines from the Indianapolis Colts.
I like that. Hines is
go
a
ahead.
guy that you definitely want to have, I think, on your team, especially if it's a PPR league, because he's a third down back. He's going to catch balls and he's going to be involved.
Yeah, I kind of got him right now as, if not future trade bait, because I do have Montgomery, Clyde Edwards, and Aaron Jones. So unless one of those 3 fall off, which I honestly am worried most about Clyde Edwards. Chiefs are looking very pass happy this year, like very pass happy, more than usual. So I don't know what Clyde Edwards' role was going to be this year, and if they're going to give him as many carries as last year. So Hines could be a good trade piece for me, or he could be a guy that's a viable flex play because he does catch and pass. I do have a kicker in defense. I went the dumb way. I went with the Baltimore Ravens defense, which is great week 1, but now they play the Chiefs. So I'm probably going to find myself taking a chance on Monday night. I think I'm going to go ahead and pick up the Green Bay Packers against the Detroit Lions. I think they're going to be pissed off. And if I know anything about fantasy football, you play whatever's against the Lions. Position, team, defense. You play what's against the Lions. That's just how that works. And I got Justin Tucker as my kicker, viable option. And especially if the Ravens are going to struggle to score points this year, he's good from 60. And that's very good fantasy points. So that's my team. We had a barn burner week 1. Took me to overtime, and I finally outlasted the team with the Baltimore Ravens defense. Thanks to that interception.
Yes, good dub. We got some overlap, which will be nice. We'll be able to touch on C.D. Lamb, Chris Godwin, and David Montgomery, and Claypool. It sounds like you have the luxury of playing him on the bench right now. I gotta have him in the starting lineup. But did you feel like you had to go a little early on Mahomes, or you think you got him at a good value?
So I think I went earlier than I wanted to, but the running back that I wanted wasn't there. So kind of how the draft fell. Of course, with my keepers, I ended up drafting like 5, but there's a bunch of keepers in between. So my first 2 picks were Aaron Jones and I want to say Devin Montgomery were probably my first 2 picks. And with the gap that I had in between, Najee Harris was the running back I wanted, and he was gone already. So I took Pat, and then I took Aaron, then I took Clyde Edwards. So when I got that set up, I was like, okay, I'm 3 running backs deep because I wasn't going to draft any receivers till late because I had C.D. Lamb and T. Higgins, worst comes to worst.
Exactly.
And then and like you said, with the gap, Pat Mahomes has a pretty big quarterback gap still, I think, above the other ones. So I'm hoping every now and then he has a Pat Mahomes week that can kind of win me the game.
Kind of like week 1.
Week 1 he gave me 40.
Hey, Tyreek's down there somewhere, right?
Yeah, he gave me 40, and the other guys had Josh Allen, who most would consider the number 2 fantasy quarterback. He had 19. So that big gap of getting Pat Mahomes, even I don't ever draft quarterbacks. It kind of just worked out. I think I had to, but now I don't have to worry about quarterback the rest of the year.
No, you should be set. You got a lot of players on some pretty solid teams, so I think it's going to be a good fantasy season. Good luck to you, and just kind of got to keep grinding out some dubs.
Got to. What are some of your favorite matchups that you are kind of liking on your roster going into the upcoming week? And what are some of the matchups you're a little weary of?
Yeah, I'm definitely a little weary of Jonathan Taylor going up against the Rams defense. I had Montgomery do it last week, and he looked pretty good against the worst with a worse offensive line. So hopefully Quentin Nelson and the boys can at least get a little push and get Jonathan Taylor some action. But I'm really excited for Najee Harris against the Vegas Raiders and Chris Godwin against Atlanta. Everyone throws against Atlanta, and
Yeah.
it looks pretty easy sometimes. So hopefully Brady can have one of those days and throw 4 or 5, and my guy can find one.
I'm very worried about Clyde Edwards this upcoming week. Not only did he have a down week, but then he heads into Baltimore, a very good run defense.
And Patrick Queen's coming.
Patrick Queen's coming. It's a Sunday night game, and we just talked about how I think Pat Mahomes is passing more. I'm almost worried to the point that I might start a guy like Mike Williams or T. Higgins at the flex position. I'm not certain on a guy like Ronald Jones yet, and I don't want to touch Hines this week against the Rams. But man, Clyde Edwards really scares me, even though I typically choose a running back over a receiver when there's a toss-up.
Yeah, I think Mike Williams looked pretty good. He was getting a lot of action. He really, we know he's the number 2 guy, but it's sometimes Herbert will look at other guys besides Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, obviously, his number 1, but Mike Williams looked pretty solid. I think he had a few drops or some passes that he probably should have made a play on.
Yeah.
But it's not a great Dallas secondary. Herbert likes to throw the ball. Not a bad play. And I would be a little worried about Clyde Edwards too, but prime time, having a guy, especially right next to Mahomes, having your backfield there on Sunday night, it feels good to be able to have that in the lineup and watch it.
Yeah, I know, man. It's going to be, how you get that one position where you change it every day. You change it. He started, he's benched. I think I'm going to go back and forth on the Mike Williams, Clyde Edwards probably the rest of the week because it could be a shootout with the Chargers and the Cowboys.
Yeah, definitely looking like it. It is a 4:00 game in LA. It's going to be sunny. Dallas is going to be well rested. Chargers coming off a big win. It should be a really good game. I'd probably bet the over on that one. It's going to be a high number, though.
It's going to be a high number for sure, man. Well, that's a wrap for week 1, y'all. Tune back in. Let us know what your guys' fantasy teams are looking like. If you have any start, sit questions or anything else you want to hear, definitely let us know. You can find David and I both. I will have our @ in the bio. And I want to give a quick shout out to your boy, Stefon Diggs, for the Cleats of the week. Man, every man must
Omar
have a code. Rest in peace to Omar. Stefon Diggs did it big with those, man. Michael K, man. That was
rest
a tough
in
one.
peace, Norm McDonald, too.
Yes.
True
GOAT, man. But I appreciate you, David. It's going to be a fun week of Hard Knocks fantasy football style.
The big screen where we prove that we on big things. I'm doing what I want. I keep on looking at this dream, thinking I want to know. When I was 16, Big Ben, he thought up pig immensely. AB with the quick feet, intensely. Waiting in suspense, but I'm finally here. Follow me here, cause trust me, it's no time to be square. And if you